Let me tell you something dangerous. Most people are not broke because they lack talent. They are broke because they worship safety. Read that again. Safety. The job that drains them. The relationship that limits them. The version of themselves that keeps them small. They don't stay because they're happy. They stay because it feels predictable. And the human brain loves predictable pain over unpredictable growth. That's the prison. And the worst part, it doesn't look like a prison. It looks like I'm just being realistic. I don't want to fail. What will people say? At least I'm trying. No, you are negotiating with fear. And fear is a terrible advisor. Machiavelli once understood something most people still don't. Power does not belong to the careful. It belongs to the calculated. But you are trying to be liked. You are trying to be approved. You are trying to be safe. Let me ask you something. What exactly are you protecting? Your reputation? The same reputation people gossip about? Your comfort? The same comfort that keeps you anxious at night? Your friends? The same friends who secretly hope you don't outgrow them? Be honest. How many opportunities have you killed because you were afraid to look foolish? How many ideas did you bury because someone might laugh? How many versions of you died quietly? Because you wanted to be accepted? Pause. Feel that. The tragedy of average is not loud. It is silent. You wake up at 40 and say, I had potential. Potential is the most painful compliment, because it means you never moved. Let me engage you for a second. Say this even if it's quietly. I am not here to be average. Again. I am not here to live half a life. Good. Because the moment you decide you are not average, you will feel resistance. From friends, from family, from your own mind. Why? Because when you change, you disturb the social contract. People agreed to the old you, the comfortable you, the predictable you, the non-threatening you. The moment you start risking it all, you become dangerous. And here is the part nobody tells you. Average people don't hate risk. They hate seeing someone close to them take it, because it exposes their fear. And fear hates exposure. But let's go deeper. The real prison is not your job, not your city, not your bank account. It is your identity. You are addicted to who you have been. The responsible one, the quiet one, the loyal one, the safe one. And risking it all means burning that identity. That is terrifying, because if you fail, you can't go back pretending. Now listen carefully. Risking it all does not mean jumping without thinking. That is stupidity, and stupidity is expensive. Machiavelli never told leaders to be reckless. He told them to understand timing, perception, human weakness. There's a difference between a gambler and a strategist. A gambler hopes. A strategist prepares. So when I say risk it all, I do not mean quit your job tomorrow with no plan. I mean calculate your exit. Study the board. Read the room. Power belongs to those who observe before they move. Have you noticed something? The loudest people rarely win long term. It's the quiet ones, the ones taking notes, the ones watching behavior, the ones understanding patterns. Let me ask you, before you make a move, do you study people? Do you understand who benefits if you fail? Do you understand who feels threatened if you succeed? because the moment you rise, invisible competition appears. That's human nature. Now here is the emotional discipline part. You cannot risk it all if you are emotionally unstable. If you move from anger, you will expose yourself. If you move from ego, you will overshare. If you move from desperation, you will accept low value. Say this with me. I do not move from emotion. I move from awareness. Again, I do not react. I position. Good. Because calculated risk requires 3 things. 1. Emotional control. 2. Long-term vision. 3. Strategic silence. Sometimes risking it all means burning a bridge. Sometimes it means pretending the bridge still exists, while you quietly build another road. Not everyone needs to know your plan. In fact, the more you talk, the weaker your move becomes. Study that. Why announce what you haven't secured? Why expose a seed before it becomes a tree? Silence confuses opponents, and confusion buys you time. But understand this, the moment you decide to move differently, people will feel it. Your energy shifts. Your tolerance lowers. Your conversations change. And someone will try to stop you, not because they hate you, but because your growth makes them uncomfortable. So here is your next internal affirmation. I am allowed to outgrow environments that no longer serve me. Pause. Breathe that in. We enter the part most people are not prepared for. When they turn against you, betrayal is proof you are rising. The moment you start moving differently, watch closely. The jokes change. The energy shifts. The support becomes conditional. It starts subtly. You've changed. Yes, that was the point. Growth is uncomfortable, not just for you, but for the people who benefited from your smaller version. Let me ask you something. Has anyone ever been comfortable with you struggling, but uncomfortable when you started improving? Think carefully. When you were confused, they advised you. When you were broke, they comforted you. When you were insecure, they related to you. But the moment you became focused, the moment you started saying no, the moment you stopped explaining yourself, they felt distance. Because power creates distance, and not everyone can sit at the table of your next level. Now listen carefully. This is where weak people retreat. Because rejection hurts. Being misunderstood hurts. Outgrowing people hurts. But Machiavellian philosophy teaches something uncomfortable. Affection is unstable. Respect is calculated. When you start demanding more from life, people who settled will quietly resent you. Not openly. Silently. They won't clap. They'll observe. They'll wait for you to fail. And if you do fail, they will say, I knew it, not because they're evil, but because your boldness exposed their fear. And fear wants validation. This is where you must master emotional detachment. Not cruelty. Detachment. You cannot risk it all while craving approval. Let that sit. If you still need everyone to understand you, you are not ready for power. Say this quietly. I am willing to be misunderstood. Again, I choose growth over comfort. Good. Because the loneliness phase is not punishment. It is preparation. Silence will become your companion. Fewer people will have access to you. You will start observing more than speaking. And that silence, it will scare people. Why? Because predictable people are easy to control. but evolving people? Unsettling. Now understand this deeply. When they turn against you, do not panic. Do not defend yourself emotionally. Do not over-explain. Nothing weakens your position faster than desperate clarification. Sometimes the strongest move is to let them think they won while you build. Because here is the truth most people won't say out loud. Every transformation requires a social sacrifice. And if you are not losing some people, you are not evolving enough. Pause. Breathe. This is where many of you are right now. And between who you were and who you are becoming. And it feels isolating. But isolation is not emptiness. It is recalibration. And now, we reach the most dangerous part. Because risking it all is not just about losing people. It's about losing yourself. Burn the old identity. You cannot rise and remain the same. Let me ask you something deeper. Who are you without your old story? Without the trauma? Without the excuses? Without the validation? Most people don't fear failure. They fear identity death. Because once you decide to risk it all, you cannot blame your past anymore. You cannot say, I didn't have support. I wasn't ready. It wasn't the right time. No. Now it becomes, will I bet on myself? And that question terrifies people. Because if you bet on yourself and lose, there's no one left to blame. That's why many stay average. Blame is comfortable. Responsibility is power. Let me speak directly to you. You cannot carry insecurity into your next level. You cannot carry people-pleasing into dominance. You cannot carry fear of rejection into leadership. Something must die. The old habits, the old mindset, the old conversations, the old self-doubt narratives. Reinvention is violent. Not physically, psychologically. You will wake up some days and not recognize yourself. Your taste changes. Your tolerance changes. Your ambition sharpens. And people will say, you're acting different. Yes, because survival mode is different from expansion mode. Say this slowly. I release who I was. Again, I step into who I must become. Feel that. Because this is where discipline replaces motivation. You won't always feel confident. You won't always feel brave. But you will move anyway. That is power. And here is the cold truth. The world respects consistency more than intention. You can talk about risking it all for years, but until your behavior shifts, nothing changes. Now look at your life. Where are you still playing small? In your relationships? In your business? In your creativity? In your standards? Be honest. Risking it all does not mean chaos. It means refusing mediocrity. It means raising your standards so high that your old environment cannot contain you. And that comes with a price. Because power is not glamorous at first. It is lonely. It is misunderstood. It is heavy. Power is heavy. Growth is heavy. Becoming who you said you wanted to be is heavy. That's why most people never carry it. They romanticize strength, but they don't respect the burden that comes with it. And this is where the weak turn back. This is where excuses start sounding intelligent. This is too much. This isn't me. Maybe I was asking for too much. No, you weren't asking for too much. You just weren't prepared for the weight. Pause, because in the next part, we enter a dangerous phase. The phase where most people lose themselves. The phase where power can either refine you or corrupt you. This part we will be unfolding is not about ambition. It's about integration. How to rise without becoming the monster you once feared. But before we go there, ask yourself one question. Are you afraid of failing? Or are you afraid of becoming someone who can't be controlled anymore? Sit with that. Digest this. Power is heavy. And in the next part, we learn how to carry it without losing our soul.